Yet I think the demon's target is not the possessed. It is us, the observers, every person in this house. And I think the point is to make us despair, to reject our own humanity, Damien, to see ourselves as ultimately bestial, as ultimately vile and putrescent, without dignity, ugly, unworthy. Spooky, right? That's a line from The Exorcist, and it's packed with hidden meanings. What if I told you this isn't just a story about demonic possession, but a mirror reflecting our fears, our families, and even our society? Today, we're peeling back the layers of William Peter Blatty's The Exorcist, and beyond the spine-tingling horror, this story is packed with allegories reflecting societal and personal anxieties. But don't worry, we'll keep the creepy stuff to a minimum. Ready to get started? Let's go. So, first things first. What is an allegory? Well, it's like a story within a story. It's when characters or events in a narrative represent something more than just themselves. Think of it like a secret code. What's happening on the surface is trying to tell us something deeper. Now, let's see how this works in The Exorcist. You might know it as that super scary story about a young girl who gets possessed by a demon, but hold on. There's more to it. The story is also seen as an allegory for things like loss of innocence, family breakdown, and society's moral decay. And we'll circle back to those in just a moment. So, imagine the demon possession not just as something scary, but as a symbol for how innocence can be lost or corrupted. The priests in the story, they're not just fighting a demon, they're wrestling with their own faith and the battle between good and evil. See, allegories are all around us in books, movies, and even songs. Ever read Animal Farm by George Orwell? That's an allegory about political systems. Or how about the movie The Matrix? Yep, that's an allegory too. Now, returning to The Exorcist. The allegory of loss of innocence is a compelling theme that runs throughout the novel. The most obvious representation of innocence is the character Regan MacNeil, a 12-year-old girl who becomes the victim of demonic possession. And her innocence is emphasized early in the story, and her transformation into a foul-mouthed, violent entity is a shocking contrast to her initial character. Regan's possession and the subsequent grotesque transformation can be seen as a metaphor for the loss of innocence that occurs in the transition from childhood to adolescence and adulthood. And just as Regan's innocence is corrupted by the demon, innocence in general can be lost or corrupted by various forces in life, such as exposure to violence, sexuality, or harsh truths about the world. Now, the 1970s is a time of great upheaval and moral questioning in America. The loss of innocence in The Exorcist might also symbolize a broader societal loss of innocence. And during this period, many began to question traditional values and societal norms, leading to a perceived loss of moral innocence on a cultural level. Now, Father Karras, one of the priests in the novel, also undergoes a personal journey that reflects the theme of lost innocence. His crisis of faith and internal struggle represent a loss of spiritual innocence, and he has to grapple with his belief system, facing doubts and questioning his faith, all of which align with the overarching theme of innocence being corrupted or lost. Now, the allegory of family breakdown in The Exorcist is another significant theme that resonates on various levels throughout the novel. It explores how family relationships can be strained, fractured, and ultimately destroyed. So let's take a closer look. The MacNeil family serves as the central focus for this allegory. Regan's mother, Chris, is a successful actress and a single parent, reflecting a modern family dynamic. The absence of Regan's father, who is divorced from Chris and largely absent from their lives, sets the stage for a family already on the edge of fragmentation. Now, Regan's demonic possession further strains the family. Her increasingly bizarre behavior terrifies her mother and disrupts their home life. And this can be seen as a symbolic representation of how unexpected and uncontrollable events like illness or addiction can exacerbate existing family tensions and lead to a complete breakdown. Now, as mentioned before, The Exorcist was published during a time of great societal change, and it may reflect broader concerns about the disintegration of the traditional family unit. I mean, divorce rates were rising, and norms around family were shifting. So the breakdown of the McNeil family might also be seen as an allegory for these larger societal fears and changes. Now it goes further. The priests, particularly Father Karras and Father Merrin, act as contrasting father figures to Regan. Their commitment to helping her, even at great personal cost, provides a stark contrast to her biological father's absence. This juxtaposition reinforces the theme of family breakdown by showing different types of paternal relationships. Now, for the big picture, society's moral decay. Now, as mentioned before, there is a historical and cultural context for The Exorcist. The late 1960s and early 1970s in America were marked by major societal upheaval. I mean, the Vietnam War, the Civil Rights Movement, and that general questioning of authority and traditional values. There was a palpable sense of disillusionment, distrust, and moral ambiguity. And the horror of Regan's possession serves as an external manifestation of internal chaos. As Regan becomes more violent and her language more vulgar under the demon's influence, she becomes a symbol of a society spiraling out of control, losing its moral grounding. Her unchecked and uncontrollable actions mirror the perceived lawlessness and moral decay of society at large. And Father Karras' own crisis of faith can also be seen as emblematic of a larger move away from traditional religious beliefs. We've touched on that earlier, but let's go into it a little bit more. As organized religion's grip weakened on the societal consciousness, moral absolutes became more relative, leading to perceived moral decay. And there's also a search for answers involved with this allegory of moral decay, or societal decay. Throughout the novel, people keep searching for answers. Chris McNeil first seeks medical and psychological explanations for her daughter's condition. This reflects the shift towards science and away from faith to explain and solve problems. Yet these solutions prove insufficient, perhaps reflecting a sentiment that moral issues can't be fixed with science or reason alone. And Father Merrin contrasts with Karras' wavering faith. He stands as a pillar of unwavering belief and represents that old guard of traditional values and morality. And his previous encounters with the demon suggest an ongoing battle between good and evil. Just like society constantly struggles with moral direction. So, The Exorcist can be viewed as a commentary on a society grappling with moral identity, searching for answers in the face of growing skepticism and disillusionment. The novel suggests that when society loses its moral compass, dark and uncontrollable forces, represented by the demon, can take hold, leading to chaos and suffering. So, what's the big takeaway? The Exorcist isn't just a horror story. It's a multi-layered narrative, reflecting the struggles that we face personally, in our families, and as society. And in the midst of these challenges, we have figures like Karras and Merrin to remind us of the enduring battle between doubt and faith, tradition and change. And that wraps up today's exploration. If you're as fascinated by these insights as I am, don't forget to like and share. Stay curious and keep joining me. And next time.